Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the Regenerative Cannabis YouTube channel. I'm doing another breeder interview here with the homie Family Tree Seeds down there in Southern California. Um, Tyler hooked up and hit me up on IG actually, and I was super stoked. We got on the phone and totally hit it off. I had a great time talking with you a couple weeks ago, and the first thing that kind of piqued my interest, I gotta say, was we have in common the Dogwalker,
Yeah,
strain that we both
yeah,
admire, and you've been breeding with. And then we started talking more and talking about your Pam Anderson and all the stuff you've been doing. And holy shit, man, I am super impressed with you're like not just a cannabis dude, but you've been into fruit trees, and that's like how you make your money is you teach people about fruit
yeah,
trees and how to prune. And I think you're doing a little bit of breeding there. And so anyways, man,
yep.
I'm super stoked to have you be a part of the collective, and super stoked to get to know you. So thanks for coming on. And
Heck yeah, dude. Much love, much love. I've always been
yes,
watching your stuff and chasing you guys around, being like, man, that's the crew, man. That's the crew I belong with, So thanks
well,
for
that's my
giving me the
intro.
time of
So
day,
yeah. Why don't you do your intro of you? Like, what do how do you frame yourself, or how do you think about what you do?
Basically, usually I'm a man with a cowboy hat, you know, 24/7, the real farmer type. So I'm a fruit tree guy. So plant man, they call me Mr. Trees. Everywhere you go, ever since I was a little tyke, I've always been into fruit trees and growing stuff, food, all that stuff. So I started. My dad told me one time when I was young, he said, "Figure out what you're going to be doing, anyway, and figure out how to get paid doing that. You'll be happy." So that's kind of what I did. I kind of always just did weird odd jobs with plants until I could get a stable job working at a nursery. And I was just shucking soils and stuff as a young kid, and did some apprenticeships with some of the old ancient fruit tree cats of the world. Um, they were in need of a young buck, and I was in need of knowledge. So I soaked it up and ended up becoming in love with the fruit tree world. So I go around now. I run a company where I do consulting, for home orchards, commercial orchards, um, any place that has a tree. Colleges, I teach at colleges, master gardeners associations, zoos, every nursery around, all the local nurseries around here. Basically, I just teach regenerative food culture, home orchard culture is kind of what I wrap it up into. And we grow food, we grow trees, we set up crops. So, we're harvesting some sort of a fruit every month on the calendar year around here in San Diego and SoCal. We can do that. We can get away with murder.
Do you
So
have
we can plant
any limitations like on tropical trees? I mean, San Diego's pretty
very,
epic,
very,
right?
very few. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're the mecca of everything. At one point, I don't know if it's still true, but at one point we were like the most diverse plant population on the planet. Like everything came to this, area and did well because we have so many different areas: mountains, coastal, deserts, and there's a lot of different plants that thrive here. So we grow things from mangoes and lychees and cherimoyas and all the way down to apples and pears and plums. I do lots of funny things like flueries and fluots, um, pecotums, all the hybrid fruits and things that they do a lot of breeding with, which is really neat. Um,
How now?
and then
How is on those hybrids? Are those like pollen crosses or
Yes,
yeah?
yes, yeah. So a lot of people, yeah. I get that question a lot. Like a lot of people ask, are those like GMO'd or how are they done? But it's
It's a
basically,
pollen cross. It's not
yep.
not like a root stock of one, and no, it's a straight up
No, yeah,
cross.
yeah, straight up pollen cross. Yeah, so yeah, a flower, for those who don't know, is like a flower of a plum tree, flower of an apricot tree. They're related, tree. Basically, you can change pollen interchange. You grow out those seeds. Some of those seeds will turn out to be garbage. Some of those seeds will turn out to be magical. It takes somewhere between like 8 and 12 years or something to create a new fruit tree variety that is good and stable, stone fruit wise that way. So you can do, there's the big thing. I did a big talk at the San Diego Zoo, and I brought a big box of pluaries, and nobody had ever heard of a pluary. It's a plum and cherry cross, and they're like giant cherries or really small plums that have like plum flavor with the crispy cherry, front end, and they're just crazy delicious. And everybody was blown away. It was like a really cool thing. So those hybrid fruits are neat. Takes a lot of work to put them together. And
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So are you like when you're doing a cross like that? It's. I mean, I think about like cannabis. You have to run at least 100, probably
oh yeah,
seeds,
a
and then
bunch.
you have to,
Yeah,
but you have to run them for 4 to 10 years till you can
exactly.
like taste the fruit
Be
and
like,
then throw away the
exactly,
99.
exactly. It's a complete, like, it's a nightmare. So like
So when you think about
cannabis is
cannabis,
it's way
you're like
more fun,
easy. Yeah.
It's way more fun, so you can really get away with murder. It's like cheating, it's it's radical. So yeah, I diagnose stuff. We prune, we install orchards, I teach, but everywhere I go, it's changing like the home owners like mind from the past of coming back to a more regenerative culture, and there's not a lot of people that kind of took the old fruit tree world care practices and then combining it with like the permaculture world and the regenerative culture world, and like doing this this combination and getting like a good home orchard or a food forest rolling in your own little backyard. So that's kind of my
What's
approach.
your like nutrient program or microorganism program, or how do you approach that for, like if you come into someone's home orchard and they're like, their
So
trees are sick.
yeah, so you gotta be practical on what the people at home are actually going to do. Like you can tell them to do all kinds of things, like buy this, buy that, put this down at this time. But really it comes down to most people aren't going to do anything that you really say unless it's feasible for them to do so. So like practicality is a big part of what I do. Like I like using a lot of organic things like worm castings and kelp, and I make a lot of like FBJs and some IMO stuff and weird things like that I'll bring, and I'll inoculate people's land and stuff. Big part, quick thing that I tell people to do is make compost extracts. It's like easy at home, like good foliar approach. A big thing that's quick and easy that helps fix a lot of things like citrus is I tell you, go get a really high quality compost, something that is made with quality ingredients, doesn't have any salmonella or E. coli. If you're making compost, that's great, use it. But I would make sure that the stuff you're going to use for spraying on your plants is safe, doesn't have any pathogens on it. So I always tell them just go to the local nursery, buy a bag of like Malibu compost or something like that, one of the expensive stuff, and get like a bag of worm castings, high quality worm castings, and you take a handful of Malibu, handful of worm castings, stuff it in the sock, and put it in like a 5-gallon bucket of some clean water, rainwater if you got it, but some good chlorine free water, and make a quick little, beat it up for 30 seconds, a few minutes, get some brown water, and then take that brown water and actually put it in a pump sprayer. No fine mist and open stream, so you don't kill any organisms when they're coming through the stream, right? And then just hose it down. And if you don't even want to get a sprayer, just mix it up in the bucket and chuck it on your plants as best as you can. But I try to get them to get these organisms out of the bag in their purest form. Don't try to brew it or mess with it. Don't make it complicated. Just take the good stuff that's in the good ingredients in the beginning, put them out into their garden in a place where they're going to live. And I teach them about you got to put organisms out in the garden. They've got to have a place to live or a place that they're going to be safe. So they're going to have some cover, some some organic material like the forest floor on the floor to keep the soil temperatures out, keep light away from them and things like that, so that they'll want to reproduce and multiply and stay there and do their jobs. So I try to just get them to get the stuff on the plants so that they can leave a lot of microbial material on the leaf surfaces to block pests and fungus spores and things that are blowing around as per usual, and try to outcompete them before they get there, you know, fill the spaces. And then, you know, just try to get them to spray their handful of dirt on their plants as often as it's possible for them. And then I do the real important stuff, like, you know, pruning them up, making sure that, you know, they understand about, you know, mulches. Will do swales for collecting water practices. There's like insect and disease regimens, trying to use more teas and things to do more out competing before actually having to hammer things. But things like peaches, like a peach leaf curl, and all kinds of nasty viruses, you got to prune them and you got to spray them. They're cultivated fruits, so using some sulfurs and some organic copper soaps and some funny things. But I always try to teach people to re-inoculate after you spray, you know, on your trees, on your garden. Or if you're going to spray to kill something on your plants, you know, your cannabis or your, you know, whatever. If you're going to kill something and actually go to that level where you have to do something, you know, a little bit more harsh, always re-inoculate and fill the spaces so that you're not, you know, emptying your microbiome. You know what I mean, so to speak. So.
No, one of the things I always wondered with like fruit tree growers, you know, and I have a small little orchard and I'm just figuring it out. But because of the length, the time it takes to grow out the trees, you know, they don't get to do as much testing and running through genetics as
Yeah.
we would. You know what I mean? Like in my mind, I can
Yeah.
run through and find mold and mildew resistant flavors.
Yeah.
And give me 3 years and I'll find
Yeah.
the flavor that is going to grow in my environment. Where with like a
For
peach
sure.
tree, it's not really like a common practice that a farmer is like, okay, I'm going to farm peaches and I'm going to spend, because it's, you know, like you say, it's the timing. And so I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of saying that and realizing at the same time
True.
and thinking, you know, so at your property where you have a nice healthy biome and you've been growing
Oh yeah.
trees and building that environment for a while, do you run into like some of the more sensitive trees? Are you seeing that your biome's able to deal with that, or are they still sensitive and you're having to like deal with some treatment
No,
management?
man, like it's kind of like the, you know, the shoemaker that has the shoemaker's kids have crappy shoes, you know what I mean, because he's always working, taking care of, making shoes for other people.
Yeah,
It's kind
right.
of got that syndrome. So I was kind of like, I'm kind of proud of my orchard because it's able to hold its own, like big time, you know. Like in the beginning, I could show some crazy pictures and anybody wants to see them, it's nuts. My property was, it was basically a skate park, and it was the hardest, nastiest, deadest ground you've ever seen in your life, where there were skate ramps and all
Oh,
kinds of
it literally was a
but
skate park.
literally was like a skate park. And they had created this there was concrete. I mean, it was crazy. So when I got there, all the debris was gone, but it was just the hard, dead ground and some concrete and stuff left. So I literally like killed myself tilling it up, laid logs and stuff in trenches to deposit carbon back in down deep, and, you know, give some, you know, oogle culture, I guess, or something, you know, whatever they call it. I did do a lot of that, did a lot of log land, planted like 70 different types of fruit trees, you know, all kind of plotted out, you know, together in a thoughtful manner. You know, have some swales that are going to capture water, because I'm in a real desert, water restricted area, and every drop of water that we get is invaluable. So a lot of swales and things. And then I just started building the land. As soon as I started doing that, weeds were 10 feet tall, and it was like it was the whole project to like get it out of all those bad habits of being a dead land and rejuvenating it, you know, and breathing the life in. And now it's like there are hardly any, you know, any horrible weeds where the trees are, and there's cover crops and flowers and flutes and everything kind of on top of everything, and it's all kind of got its own little purpose. And I'm getting ready to do a big video for my channel on pruning the orchard, and I'm going to go through the orchard, and we're going to do a big time lapse and a big pruning of my orchard and stuff. We're going to do, you know, good examples and things of what's going on. But I rarely spray for anything, like, really. I mean, I see all the time, like, I have praying mantises like crazy. Like, I've never seen so many praying mantises in my life, like in a place, like, just wild. It's the craziest thing. Like, every year I see them everywhere at my house. It's insane. You know, there's lacewings everywhere naturally. It's like, you know, there's ladybugs, ladybug larvae. It's like a free for all out there. And yeah, there's some stuff. You know what I mean? There's some leaf miner, and there's some, you know, some rodents and stuff. You got a couple good dogs, and but man, I got nice trees now. My kids run through there. We pick fruit. There's hardly any damage, and it's like, you know, some pruning, some feeding. I do some feeding and mulching. You know, a lot in the orchard. Like that's my biggest deal is pruning, feeding, and mulching. You know, with just, you know, life. I don't even,
Yeah.
you know, I don't use a lot of, you know, nutrients of any kind.
No
Trying to
animals.
compost and chop and drop, you know, full on. I had chickens for a long period of time. They're now gone. I got two puppies that wouldn't allow the chickens to live no matter how many fences or gates or
I have the same
barricades we put in the
situation.
way.
Yeah, it
So
sucks.
it turned out that like the chickens worked the land for a couple of years. It was awesome. It was one of the greatest things ever. It helped me out, you know, tenfold. Took down my earwig and, you know, snail population substantially. You know what I mean? There's, you know, slugs. I guess they eat a lot of that funny stuff, but not a lot of roly polies. But they ate a lot of earwigs for me, which was good. And then dogs came, and now the dogs protect it from the squirrels that I had problems with. So I lost my chickens, but I gained protection from the squirrels. So I'm good there. You know.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about throwing chickens in my greenhouse for the roly polies.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, those ones are hard. Nothing wants to eat those. Nothing wants to
Dude,
eat those things, dude. You
they
know?
just survive. And I'm like in
Yeah,
a wooded, you know, area, northern Washington in the
yeah,
forest. And when I cleared my
yeah,
land, there was a lot buried logs. Like it's their woodlouse, right? This is their
yeah.
fucking jam, you know?
That's They just like stuff. They like stuff to
Yeah.
be in. You know, they like our jam. They like our farming style. You know, they like that. You know?
The
But
layers.
Did you try a wet newspaper? Did you try laying out a couple of those? You try any of that
No,
crap?
I actually,
Yeah.
I'm kind of ashamed to say that I resorted to a little bit of diatomaceous earth
Oh
around
yeah, yeah,
seedling.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
just couldn't like.
Did that help with them? I
It
don't.
worked. It
Did it
worked. I
help?
mean,
It worked.
yeah, it worked. So
Yeah.
I'll go check tomorrow. I did this 2 days ago. They've
Yeah,
survived
yeah, yeah,
two nights, which is like that's a success so far to me. Because before
yeah.
they were taking a whole plant out overnight. You know,
Totally,
I'd plant 50 plants and they'd
Seedlings
be
are
gone.
toast. Yeah,
Just boom, boom.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
I walked out. And I was like, wait a second, every plant is still here. Like, okay, I think
yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Hopefully,
Okay.
I will have to do it once, you know, and then I'm
Yeah,
hoping that I'm just not going to be chopping and dropping for a minute, you know, and
yeah.
giving them that some
Yeah,
time.
I had to do like all kinds of stuff, you know, for my, you know, I had earwigs, and then those roly polies really bad at my place, and especially because I chop and drop, like it's over. I got ground
Yeah.
dwellers. That's the deal. But I found that like wetting that newspaper and like laying out a couple of them or big sheets of cardboard and folding them and having them wet
And
and
then
just leave them
pulling them
there
up.
for like 2 or 3 days. Yeah, they like crawl right in there, like thousands of them, and they like bed down in that, and then you just pick that thing up, throw it in freaking trash. And I decimated the population pretty good. I mean, it didn't like solve the problem 100%, but it damn near did a
Got it
did
in
a pretty good number on
balance.
them. And then
Close to balance.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then like they love friggin' oil too. So their earwigs love the oil. So if you got earwigs, it's like get a little pan, like a little turkey pan, and kind of bury it in the chop and drop and put some oil in there. You'll have thousands of friggin' earwigs in there the
Huh.
next morning. You do that a couple nights in a row, you'll have cockroaches, earwigs, a bunch of weird stuff loves that oil, and they drown in that stuff. And that helped a lot, you know. But then I released my chickens to be like everywhere, and that helped a lot more.
Yeah. Well, let's talk weed, man.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So how did you get into weed? Where did you start with weed?
Dude, weed is weed is the one constant. It's the one thing, you know. Unfortunately I've been with weed my whole life, man. I was like 15 years old, 14, 15, 16. The introduction to some ganja, you know, and you know,
Down in Southern
some
California
Mexican.
the whole time?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Right when I moved I moved from Arizona, and right when I moved to SoCal, there was options here, man. It wasn't like living on a farm in the middle of hell, you know. It was a different world. So Met some cats skateboarding and surfing, you know, the whole deal, you know, by the ocean. And they were, you know, they had some ganja, and we started smoking some ganja, you know. It was Mexican brickweed, and I love growing stuff, so I always grew the seeds. Like I was just like, I'd pull out a bunch of good seeds, and I'd always grow the seeds when I was a little kid, throw them in my backyard in little cups, and I'd grow them up. And you know, when I was like uh, eighth grade, ninth grade, eighth, ninth grade, needed a car, hung out with all my friends, you know, like really far away, a couple cities down. I'd always talk to the older dudes who had a car, be like, yo, I'll give you a couple of plants. Give me a ride home, man. You give me a ride home, I'll give you a couple of cannabis plants. So I always had like a steady, like steed of plants in these little cups ready to roll that I could trade. I could give them away. I could do whatever I want. But it was always like just whatever seeds that I could find, you know, until I got older and I started like figuring out, holy shit, there's stuff that doesn't have seeds in it. And I started getting some kind bud they called gal. I've never heard it again. Have you ever heard anybody call weed gal before? Weirdest thing in the world. I heard it when I was just introduced to chronic. People were calling it gal, and I never heard it since. And I've been in the, you know, I'm almost 40, and I've been doing this a long time. You know what I mean? So it's a weird thing. I always ask, gal, weird. But it was this green bud, and we called it gal. And I remember I went to buy a 20 bag of it, and I was expecting to get a big fat Mexican 20 bag or whatever, and I got this gram, and I was like, what is this crap? So I ended up trading it to my buddy for some crappier weed because I wanted more, you know. And it's the funniest thing. When you're a little kid, you're like, man, I just want more ganja. But you know, as I got older, I started learning more about, you know, plants in general, and you know, started growing. I always grew stuff kind of hid. Always had a little bit of space where I could grow some ganja, and started getting pretty good at growing ganja. Started, you know, people were like, "Whoa, I really like your ganja," you know. So like maybe this is a cool thing. So I started kind of interweaving ganja with all the stuff that I do now, you know, like fruit tree orchards and funny stuff. I tried to, you know, pipe's always with me, and that's just my way of life. I start the day and end the day with it, but I'm one of those like functional stoner types. I can do all kinds of stuff. It doesn't slow me down. It's just a part of what I do. It's what I, you know, it's just who I am. So
So you were like
plants, you know,
right on the beginning. You were just like started breeding and crossing. It wasn't like something you. For me,
kind of
like
an accident.
I was cropping forever, and I was like scared of breeding. Like I felt like I had to like get to some level, you know, master.
No, I didn't really know. I didn't even know that it was like breeding. I was growing plants. I was like 15 and 16, and I was growing these plants, and I'm like, oh, and I learned, oh, well, this is a male plant, and this is a female plant. Well, I'm just gonna let these grow. Like, what's wrong with this male plant, you know? And all of a sudden you'd realize, and I would learn it was just a bunch of trial and error of just growing stuff, you know, being a stupid kid, trying not to get caught. You know, we'd have plants out, you know, on the side of the road places and down in canyons, and you know, all those places always got busted, no matter how like good we thought we were. You know, it's always in the middle of, you know, the city. So like, no matter what, it was silly. But the ones that I grew at home, and you start getting good at it, and you like started learning, like, whoa, that kind of did this. And I always needed seeds, you know, and it was just kind of one of those things. And then, you know, it's just, yeah, it's one of my things. And then I lost the space at one point as I got older, and I started working for, you know, the traditional like cats growing inside, and you know, lights, and you know, newts and stuff that I was like, what is this? What is this world? You know, and that's where I learned a lot, and was, you know, it was funny. Like I was trying to tell them back in the day, hey, we should do a table. We should do a few tables like organic, and we should do a few tables, you know, the way you guys are doing it. We should, you know, we should see the difference, you know. And they're like, no, man, we make more money doing it like this. You know, it was like paclobutrazoles and all kinds of the garbage, you know. And it's like, all right, man, whatever. And now today, it's like the movement's here, you know. And it was like, you know, I saw it from day one. That's the way it should be, you know. It's the stuff you're putting in your body, you know.
Right. It's really interesting to me. Some folks, I know folks that are like some of the best goddamn hydro growers you ever meet, and like working out, eating organic, like fucking crushing me, you know, on even the fitness lifestyle, and
Yeah.
growing fucking synthetic weed. And I'm just, it's
Yeah.
like,
What? Dude. Yeah. 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 I mean, it is. I always tell people, I'm like, if I, you know, you are what you eat, and you are what your plant eats. You are what your plant, you know, you are what you smoke. It's. If I ate McDonald's every day and it filled me up, made me fat and bulky, I mean, my cells would be built on garbage. You know what I mean? Like, if I ate vegetables and I'm a skinny beanpole like I am, I mean, I got good, strong cells. You know? So it's just funny to me. And there's some dank chemical stuff that I was like, damn, that's some dank ass shit, you know. But
sure, sure,
I would never, you know, it's not my style. I
right.
love soil. I love living stuff. I want to promote that, you know, help help this place in a different way, you know.
So, Sam Anderson, that's one of your cultivars.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Where, tell me how you got to there. Was that, you know, like, so you kind of were crossing, you're making stuff.
Yeah.
Was Pam Anderson
So
one of the
like
first that you did, or is there some was
that's
there an
like
evolution to it, or?
yeah. So like the best seeds that of all the weed that I got, like I would cross stuff. We would have you know plants on the for ready for trade and all that jazz. But like the best seeds that I would come across, or the best smoke that I would find, and I would always put them in this little tin pouch that I had, and I would tuck them away and just keep this little. Those are my special seeds. I'm gonna grow those when I'm really gonna pay attention to them, you know. And then like I moved and forgot about all those seeds, thought that I had lost them for years, you know. Years later, I get my ranch, and I'm unpacking some boxes and some random stuff I haven't seen in forever. Out comes that little thing, and I'm like, damn, that's awesome, because I didn't really, you know, I had a family. I was out of the loop. You know what I mean? I didn't have a lot of my grower friends, and all my other friends were gone. I had gotten, you know, it was a whole nother world. And I was like, damn, I needed these. Like, it was perfect. So there was, you know, there was a grip of seeds, and there was like 25, 30 seeds in the pouch. But I
Just all
tried to
mixed
pop
up,
like,
or did you have them
yeah,
like?
I had no idea what they were. I had no
Right,
idea what they were. They could have been from this and that, but they were always like, it was my best seed collection. It was
right.
in my best pouch, you know. They were in the one in the top jar, you know. So I was like, I tried to pop a bunch of them, and none of them popped. And I'm like, shit, they're too old, you know. Like, this sucks. Am I gonna have to like do something to try to pop? I only had just a couple left, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try to pop a couple more. And I popped, I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 more, and two came out. And out of those two, I had a male and I had a female, and the female was the Pam, and the Pam, or the female, actually, the female was the sister Mary, the mom to the Pam, and the mom to the Pam grew in the orchard by herself, big, stout, and beautiful. I wasn't prepared to like breed or have any of the stuff. I had the two plants. That male, it was gone. It wasn't worth anything. It was out of there. So when we harvested all the plant itself, cut it all down except for the bottom couple branches, and I just let it rot to the natural terms. And I'm like, if she herms, she'll herm, and I'll grow out some of those seeds, because she was really good. You know, I had her tested. She was 24% THC. She had a few percent CBG in there, and she was high in myrcene. She was like, I have the results. She was really high in myrcene, and you know, she was a really good plant. It was a really like a thin leaf sativa, dance buds, beautiful pictures. I got some online. But she did. She hermed a little bit. 11 seeds tucked in there after months of just rotting buds. Took those seeds out, grew those seeds, grew a few of those seeds. Out of those group of seeds, there's the Pam. Pam was colorful when all the other ones were not colorful. And I was like, that was the one thing that I was like, oh, she's pretty. She was like pink and purple and like this gunmetal blue color compared to her siblings, compared to the mother. It was like she was just more colorful. You know, there was no other reason why I selected her originally other than she was colorful, and she was really, really, you know, she had a great berry skunky nose. I'm like, that's the one I'm going to keep. So boom, she became my keeper, became my first. This is the one I'm going to hold. This is the one I'm going to start working with. And this one's going to be my plant. You know what I mean? So took her, cloned her up, kept her around, would regenerate her in the orchard, you know, for, you know, the first few years of her life. Then after like growing her for a few years and figuring out, damn, I really like this broad. She's like skunk candy and grapes and just, I mean, really, really sharp on the sweet factor, but really musty and skunky right off the bat. It's like weird. It's like musty and skunky with a really sweetness on the back.
Nice.
It's really, really
Yeah.
pleasant, man. Really pleasant. And she clones easy. She's like super easy plant. She doesn't have any finicky problems. If something has like thrips or she's always just so happy and tolerant. It's an easy plant, you know. The one thing I wish she had more of was flavor. So that's what I wanted to go after. Is like I want to get some flavor, some different complexity. So I just started working with her, and after a little while working with her, I sent a sample to Phylos before all the Phylos drama and garbage to figure out kind of what the hell is she. I had no idea from the original seeds that were there. Like I was hoping that like it would pop up and she'd have her little family tree with, you know, she's, you know, skunk
Next
or
to
a
cookies.
sativa this or whatever, right? Yeah, she's sitting there with cookies. And I'm like, you know, whatever. But no, like she came back and she had no family. She was all alone, which was really unique, you know. And I talked to a couple people over at Steep Hill when that happened. And I'm like, well, what's that mean? And I was trying to figure out like is she like what does that mean? And then so I really don't know. Basically, it's it's a plant that I believe was kind of lost to prohibition. You know what I mean? Like the variety or the strain or the backbone or whatever was lost to prohibition from back in the day that nobody worked with or nobody had, and its phenotypical expression popped up on the chart with no family. So there's no recent family. You got like two columns. You got the Pam, and you got like the most recent relatives, and then you got the extended family, and there's nothing on any of those, which is kind of cool. And like there's like a few like the San Diego Hog's Breath is up in the Phylos galaxy that has no family. I think one of Mean Gene's plants is up there, has no family. There's a couple that are familyless, like the Pam up there, and I'm not quite sure what that means or if it's even valid, being, you know, all the Phylos drama. But that at that point, when I figured, okay, she doesn't have any family, she's obviously really cool, you know, and interesting, you know what I mean? Boom, started making cool crosses with her, started really working her hard and trying to figure out like what does she give, what does she do, how can I make her better, you know, kind of just, you know, she came to me, I found her in my old stuff. The plant did what I needed it to do to give me the seed to pop her. She was stable, hardy, tough. I mean, all the things that I needed, and I'm like, this is my gal. And
Yeah,
every time I question myself, like I give it to a friend or somebody else, and I'm like, dude, the Pam is awesome. Like the Pam's good. And I'm like, okay, she actually is good. Like maybe I'm not crazy. Like, is she good? Is she not good? You know. So I've always just been trying to like improve her and just put things like the Dogwalker, things like, you know, the Triangle Kush, things like nasty and gassy and funky, because I like that. I like nasty gas, and but I like some flavor and I like complexity. So I've been searching for that perfect union, you know, between the two, you know. So I haven't found it yet, but
so like
I'm
when the
close.
dog with the dog walker, were did you find a male out of the Pam? Like, did you back cross the Pam to get a male and then put that on the dog walker?
So right now I've got the first wave of the Dogwalker Pam cross. So it was the male Pam Anderson male comes from the original batch of seeds that the Pam came from.
You
Okay,
selected
so
the male. Okay.
exactly. So there was another, out of that group of that Herm group of
Right.
seeds. You know what I mean? I got a male out of that batch. No, you know, no reason. It wasn't the most prolific male, but it was the male that's going to carry the line that I can get many, many seeds out of to sort through to find the ones that I need to work with, you know? So,
Right.
that male got crossed to that. It got crossed to a bunch of different things to see what it passed. It crossed to like 6 or 7 different things. The grow off mystery mega hunt clone that I still don't know what it is got hit with that. The Dogwalker got hit with that. There's the flamingo Ringo one, pink pistol one that I keep. My keeper got hit with that. Several other things got hit with the PAM. A couple others, so I figure out what that male does on the full spectrum of things. And then, so right now with the Dogwalker, to answer your question, like I've popped a bunch of those seeds. I've got a good group of females and I've got a good group of males going right now, and I'm making my male selection to go back to the PAM. On this one, I'm gonna go back to the PAM, and then I'm gonna do all kinds of things. I'm gonna do a back cross back to the Dogwalker. I'm gonna do several different things to try to just make it PAM and Dogwalker. Like literally, like, you know, try to seal that union up a little bit. But it's gonna take some serious work, and I don't know what that male passes yet. You know,
Right.
so that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing now, trying to find that. And I'm also reversing a PAM, and I'm reversing a Dogwalker, and I'm going to do it that way as well. So
Cool.
both of those are in the tent, getting hit with the spray, trying to get those guys to go. The Dogwalker's ornery, man. It doesn't. I don't know. Have you bred a lot? Have you bred a lot with it? Do you keep any pollen or anything like that?
I haven't opened them up. I have a packs of seeds that I put different males on, you know, different pollen on. But
gotcha. So like the pollen, like I have found, and like I talked to one other guy that got the Dogwalker at the same time that I did, who does a lot of breeding, and he had like the similar issue. Like the Dogwalker doesn't like old pollen. Like it likes fresh pollen. You know, it doesn't like a stored pollen. Like if you store your pollen in, you know, in the fridge or, you know, in the freezer or Ziploc or whatever, however you store your pollen, you know what I mean? I store a lot of pollen, and I use a lot of stored pollen from good males, so I can go back to the old male that I like keeping funky resinous males, you know? But it's that Dogwalker, for whatever reason, she coughs up that old pollen. She doesn't like a lot of the older pollen. It's really weird. So I would just always ask people who grow the Dogwalker if they're doing any crosses with any stored pollen, if, you know. So you have to, like, the males that I've got to pollinate the Dogwalker are all been like living males dropping pollen, no problem. She takes the pollen every single time. But if you'd like to store it up and have it stored and ready to go for whatever reason, that same pollen will pollinate something else next to her, but it doesn't pollinate her as well, or not at all. One of the two. You know, you just get a couple, you know, seeds out of it, and it's just for whatever reason, like she snuffs on old pollen for some reason. I never seen that before, and I don't know if it's just me or not. But that's one of those things that I've always been wondering with those Dogwalker growers. It's like I'm like, well, maybe that's a thing. You know, maybe I figured out a thing. You know,
yeah.
So store some pollen and try it.
Let me ask you, what's your tech for pollen storage? Do you drying, or like how do you do that?
So I try not to store it for long periods of time, you know, and if I do, then it's always a gamble, obviously. But I like Bodie years ago was talking about using construction paper to like wick away the moisture, keeps it dry in those.
Right.
You know, so I started making little construction paper bindles, right? Little paper folded little construction paper things. You know, get the pollen, collect the pollen, put a small amount of pollen. The smaller amount of pollen in there, I found, rather than a large amount of pollen, stores better in my experience. Like, will stay just
it dries out better, maybe.
It dries out better, stays drier. There's more dry area in there for it to move around for whatever reason. So I use just a small amount of pollen and a small little construction paper folded little bindle, and then I'll put that into, you know, a food saver Ziploc, you know, air, you know, sealer, suck out the air, and either throw it in the fridge for a month. You know, it can go up to a month, or well, maybe a little bit longer. I pull out for maybe 6 or 7 weeks, and it's been okay in a few things and a few pollens over the past. But you know, a good month. I trust it in the fridge, and you know, like as good viable stuff. And then after that, if it's gonna go in the freezer or anything, sometimes I'll use some little silica or those little silica gel packets or whatever, those moisture suckers.
Decam.
You order them
Yeah.
on Amazon or whatever. You can chuck one of those in there with it. You know what I mean? That helps. Or I'll throw it in there and Ziploc it down, or put it in a jar. Put a bunch of them in there. There's a bunch of different ways that I try to put it in the freezer, because the freezer is like a 50-50 shot that I found. Like, especially if it's a freezer that's not like exceptionally cold and is not opened all the time. So if you're opening your freezer all the time, and you know, as a 50-50 gamble, you got to have your own little freezer area that stays cold and cool. But the construction paper, as soon as I started putting in those little construction paper bindles instead of like the little vials and the stuff, like the pollen viability, like it lasts a lot longer that way for me. So
Makes
I use,
sense.
yeah, I use like something like construction paper, and like the, you know, heavier, you know, the more wickable, the better. And you got to make sure that it's old and it's dry and it's clean. You know what I mean? When you get it in there, can't have any plant material or anything like that. It's got to be clean and dry, and you know, ready to go. But you can store it for a little while. I'm getting ready to crack open some pollen that has been stored for 4 years now. So
Nice.
yeah. So I've never opened pollen that old. I've opened pollen, you know, a year and a half old, easy, you know, 2 years old. But I've never opened something that's like 4 or 5 years old. So I'm getting ready to open some of that pollen up and do a couple things to um, see if I can, first of all, use that pollen, but revive a line, you know. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, it's interesting. And do you have a pollen storing method? I mean, do you do any storing of any
I've
kind?
done. I've not. I mean, I'm just really getting into putting pollen on stuff. So I'm
Gotcha.
very into it, beginning into making crosses, and I've
Yeah.
opened a lot of
Fresh
stuff.
plants are the best, dude.
I've
Keeping the
run a lot
plants
of
the best.
clones, but like in terms of like
Yeah.
seeing how they're what is influencing this and that, I'm just really getting into it, and it's been really
Yeah.
cool. I was actually, this summer was I talked about it a little bit. It was a really good learning lesson for me, because I've grown a lot of stuff with Royal Kush influence,
Okay. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I had a bunch of Testarossa and Skittles stuff, and I've just kind of feel like over the last 2 to 3 years, I've got a good picture of what Royal Kush, the world and the
What?
sphere of
Yeah.
that, yeah,
It's
and those
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
flavors, and I've just
Totally.
kind of come across enough of the same flavors enough times. I'm like, oh, dude, this is like, okay, I get that now. And that now I'm just like, just
That's the thing.
realizing where the next like 30 years of my life is going. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be so
Yeah.
cool. Like, I can't
I
do it
know.
fast enough type deal, you know?
No. Dude, I got like chests full of seeds that I'll just never get to. You know, it's like I
Right.
thought this is going to be the greatest cross. I love this. It's like, and then boom, it's in the chest, and it's like, if I can get to it, I get to it at some point. Because there's always something else or something that I get distracted with, or it's just so funny how it's like, you know, you never have enough time, dude. Never enough
Yeah,
time. And
no,
then there's
I
all
think,
these trees that you got to grow. I got to grow all these trees, and I got to do all this other stuff, and I got to. That's like, yeah, it is what it is.
I think my property by
Yeah.
the time I'm done will just be like all these mini hoop house, like 10
That's
foot by
cool.
10 foot,
Heck yeah, yeah, yeah,
all over the
yeah.
place. So yeah,
Thanks,
are you
thanks.
doing everything outdoors, or do you do any indoors, or what's your method?
Yeah, man. So all my seeds are made outside.
Okay.
Made outside, like period. So full spectrum in the ground, you know, full term outside seeds.
Summertime, or can you grow year round there?
I can grow year round here with like with you know, a little quotations, you know, with a little help, I can grow year round here, no problem. You know, a couple like a little greenhouse, you can keep a little warm, grow year round here, no problem. Like not even keeping it warm, just closing it up at night, maybe throwing a tarp over it, you know, for a cold night. You're usually pretty good. I get down to like the 30s, you know, here, like low 30s, you know, for just a couple days, maybe a week, you know, and then in the 40s a lot, but low 30s is like the cold snaps, and some plants tolerate that and will just purple up and slow down and will be fine. You know, they'll do fine, and actually be really beautiful and really, really resinous. You don't want to be making seeds in the wintertime. I've learned all the seeds that I've made during cold season outside, either in greenhouse or outdoors or anything, develop too hard a shell. The shell on the seeds become too hard, and they don't like to crack, and you have low germination rates for seeds that are made in the cold. So if you have really cold temperatures and you're trying to make seeds in cannabis, like I flat out, like I can say without question that it happens to me. Like every single time that I've ever tried to do it in the colder temp, or I'm pushing it into winter and it's dipping and some's not finishing, you know, I'm growing something funny.
No,
And it's like every
that's
time,
exactly what I'm experiencing right now. So that's
it's
interesting you say that.
100% it, 100% it. Like the seed, like if the seed shell gets harder and it's harder for it to form properly. And in a warm climate, it happens quicker and it's thinner and it's healthier and nutrients are flowing better. So big thing for seed makers is don't do it in the cold. Try to do it in the warm. So do it, you know, outside in the summer, or do it inside all the time in a controlled environment. You know, that's too much of a gamble with your germination rates unless you don't care and you're just going to sort through a bunch of stuff yourself, and it doesn't really matter. And it's like the only thing you can do to like get seeds from this one plant that's already going to die, and you have to do it. I mean, it happens to me all the time. You know, like I'm going to make some seeds from this, and then I'll plant 200 of those, and out of 50 will come up, and we can work with that. You know, you can always go forward, you know, with that, you know, but you can't sell seeds like that. You can't.
Well, seed making is different than breeding and selecting. People don't think about that.
Yeah. So you
when
gotta,
you make babies,
your
wife is eating vitamins and the best food, and you know, it's not like, let's see what kind of stress we can put her under and what kind of kid we can make here.
Exactly. And sometimes you make some superstars, you know, there's some superstars that come from craziness, you know, but no, it doesn't, you can't, you know, but like, yeah, if you need to do something, that's things that I've learned is like, you know, full weather seed making is not advisable. But yeah, all my seeds are made outside in the sun, full term, you know, in the ground, the way, you know, that Mother Earth intended. All of the plants go inside though for winter. So like so I'll pop a bunch of seeds, like I'm going through, like, say, Sagan's Choice, right? You pop some seeds out of Sagan's Choice, take your clones late summer before they go to flower. They go inside, you know, to the inside place. They sit there inside. Plants come to fruition outside. You see what those expressions happen outside in that environment and those conditions. You know, you get a look at those. You pick your one or two, maybe three, you know, depending on how many loves you find out there. You select your winners, and those winners are inside. Now they have the winner to do their inside tests. So they run inside under lights, under LED lights, in soil, organically, all that jazz, you know, all the same way I would do it outside, just inside under lights. They get tested out that way inside. And then we see, okay, well, this one's truly the outlier. She did exceptional, you know, in this aspect, all that regard. Then at that point, they get ran a couple different times by a couple of my friends. Clones are kind of passed out to see who can screw this thing up. You know what I mean? Who's gonna make it herm, and who's gonna get powdery mildew or what have you. And then after all those people are like, "Yo, I'm digging this. You know, I'm digging this plant. This is a cool one. You know, I love that one." Boom. That guy gets selected for probably making a seed batch of some sort. So then, boom, we'll work with that one. He gets taken, made seeds, gets taken back outside, put into the orchard, grown up, pollinated with the chosen stud or the choice stud there. Seeds are made that way. Cycle starts again, you know, on there. But everybody's overwintered inside. Everybody's tested out by a couple different people, and the worse growers, the better. You know, I like having like people who are just terrible, like not being mean, but like, you know, they really want to grow well and they try hard and they do things, but they're either too they do too much, or they do too little, or they're just not as good of a grower, you know what I mean? So those ones I like giving plants to really see, like, you know, if they come back with something and you're like, yo, like rocking, you know what I mean? Like then, you know, then it's like, yeah, other people can do this. Other people can grow this plant, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, I like to give them to, you know, people who want to grow well, that aren't necessarily extremely good growers or professional growers. And then I figure if those guys grow well, then the professional growers are going to get a hold of it. When I can start getting it that way, it's going to friggin' be sparkly like
And
nobody's.
that was my next question.
You
Who is your target audience? Are you trying to get the
know?
seeds plants to the masses,
So,
or you want to see
like,
it in the commercial cultivation,
good
or a little
question. Yeah.
both, or?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. Like currently, it's nice because of my fruit tree game. Like people who are interested in growing their own food and stuff, a lot of them are interested in growing their own medicine, right? So they are my seed, you know, testing sites, and they're also seed, you know, supporters, you know, of my seeds and brands and stuff. So um, I like to get them to the home growers, you know, because I support the home farms, the home do-it-yourselfers, all those things. I want to get it to those home growers, the people at home who are like, man, I wish I could smoke something that is on that magazine cover and, like, you know, is made with love. And I would like to get more good stuff, you know, to those people, the older people who need it, who don't really know, and that. But I would love to have some commercial people put it on the map, because that's my problem. I need to be put on the map, and the only way you're going to get put on the map is have the good growers grow it and distribute it to the people. You know, so the people have to make the choice on whether it's good or not the mom and pop in the backyard. You know what I mean? Doing that. So I want more farms growing it. I have some farms growing it. A lot of farms in Oklahoma, big farms are growing my stuff. A lot of uh, farms here, inland, the desert communities inland are growing some of my gear, which is pretty cool. Some of the bigger things that are bringing it to the masses are getting some of my stuff out there, which is pretty cool. But you know, it needs to travel, and more people need to get a hold of it. I've just been kind of living in my own fruit world, doing my own thing, just kind of just growing my food, raising my family, and smoking good herb. And it's, you know, it's time to start sharing those boxes of stuff that I have that I've really, you know, spent time on. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't care who grows it, just as long as they like grow it and they like to grow. They want to grow something cool, because, like I said, I lived outside the bubble. I don't have a good connection circle with, you know, a lot of other growers or a lot of people. I'm a farmer from a different little realm. I didn't even go to a hydro store until, you know, like, you know, 5 or 6 years ago, and I had been growing stuff since I was a little kid. You know, I never even knew what that stuff was. So it's just yeah. I want more people to grow it. So that's what I'm trying to do now. That's what I'm building. I'm trying to get it to the right people. The right people
So,
will grow it the right way. You
right.
know.
Well, so all right, let's go over what we got here. We got you sent me 3 packs. Sagan's, what is it? Sagan's Choice F1, Flamingo Ringo, which you mentioned, F1, or no, it's an F2, version 1
Yep.
F2,
Yep.
and
Yep.
then
Yep.
the Orchard Lady.
Yep. Yep.
So
So
yeah, tell me
the
about those, man.
um, Flamingo Ringo is the medicine strain out of the batch there. That's the one if people are looking for some more like more of a 1-to-1 strain or a 2-to-1 strain, something that's going to give you some lift, but none of the paranoia, and not going to take you to the moon. So like a good strain for older people who don't, you know, want to be inebriated, but need some medicinal pain relief and some, you know, things. Good for anxiety, like exceptionally good for anxiety. Like people with tons of anxiety problems and things like that have been like, yo, this stuff like makes me sleep like a baby. I'm not thinking in my head 100 times, you know, the same stupid thing. Like it's very anxiety, you know, medicine, but usually most of them come out 1-to-1s. It's an F2. So Flamingo Ringo originally it's a rare pink pistil god bud. Out of all the god bud seeds that BC Bud Depot had ran over the years, that's their god bud or whatever, they had never seen a pink-haired version of one of the god bud seeds that they came out. So it was a weird pink-haired anomaly in their system that actually had like 4% CBD or something like that, 4 or 6% CBD on board as well. So they decided to take that and they crossed that with a Harlequin, a 7% Harlequin male CBD, and tried to make their CBD line during the time where CBD was like really, really, really new and exciting and the thing, you know what I mean? And then that was the CBD God Bud, the Pink Pistol CBD God Bud. I got a bunch of those seeds. I went through a group of them, and I pulled out a really cool plant. It was neon pink hairs outside and inside, like neon pink. It was like pink and like it's the most beautiful thing. Like it's just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous plant. And it's the greasy resin type where, I mean, it's just sheeny. It looks wet. It's not like the cookie or the drier resin where you can kind of see, you know, it looks like greasy and wet, like somebody spilled something on it. You know, it's really thick, heavy, nasty, good pressing resin, I guess.
Right.
One of my favorite. Like the Dogwalker is really greasy. It's one of the greasier plants, you know, that I've come across. This is very, very similar to the Dogwalker, but the heads are a lot bigger and that, like a lot bigger in general. But anyway, I picked that guy out. It was similar to the mother. It was a THC dominant plant with a little bit of CBD on board. I forget the exact number. I have the test, but it was, you know, along those lines. I took that plant and hit it with my Ringo's Gift male. I had a Ringo's Gift male. I still have till this day, male that I keep. It's a high CBD plant. It's just he just passes CBD all day long. You know, easy breezy. Anything I need CBD, I can go to Ringo. I can go back to Ringo. I hit him with my Ringo. That was the Flamingo Ringo. So out of that group, some of those were pink hairs, some of those are white hairs. It kind of, you know, it was one, but it was one that I made in the wintertime. That seed batch was one that I made in the wintertime, and my germ rates were really low on that puppy. So I went through like I said before, you get 200, you get 50 out of there, you find your 50, you know, you work there. So I found the ones that I needed. A pink-haired one, neon pink-haired one like Mama, and then version 1, which was the 1-to-1 ratio, like a straight up strong 1-to-1, 10%, 10%, you know, 9%, 9% CBD to THC, version 2. And I crossed that again with a nice, beautiful purple Flamingo Ringo male out of that group too. So I kept the male out of there, crossed both of those, the pink one and the white one, because I couldn't pick between the two. With this nasty, and it's a beautiful male. It's on my Instagram. It's beautiful purple, like good stature, like really strong branching, sweet smelling with like some herb, like oregano almost there too. Like it's a weird sweet with a twang, you know. But it was a pretty purple flowering male, and I hit those guys in that the F2 Flamingo Ringo. Out of those guys right there, the version 1 that you got is the 1-to-1, the white hair version. I'm refining the pink one, the greasy pink one right now to really make that, like, every time you pop a seed, you're going to get a greasy pink one or close to that greasy pink one so that you can count on. And that's where the name came, Flamingo Ringo, the pink bird, Ringo's Gift. You know, that's where my name came from for that one. But the version 2 was so good for like the anxiety and like the pain, you know what I mean? And was like a very good, just a strong 1-to-1 strain. I found myself kind of pulling out at the end of the day, working, pruning trees and doing stuff. I'd pack a little Flamingo Ringo in there, and it's just a nice calm strain, very papaya smelling, like papaya and lemon funk. It's very funky, but it's very papaya-ish. Hawaiian papaya, not Mexican papaya. If anybody knows the difference, Mexican papaya is like skunky and like kind of hard smelling. Hawaiian papaya is more sweet and like floral. So more Hawaiian papaya, not Mexican. But yeah, so get 1-to-1. It grows well. It's like consistently like that. You know, it's like a 1-to-1. There will be some pinks in there though. It's an F2, so it's opened up. gene pool's opened up. So there's a lot in there that's cool for sorting. Like, so good medicinally, like people will be able to pick the plant that they like. You know what I mean? Like, I like this one, it made me feel really good. That's the ratio. You know what I mean? Boom. It's a good one with an open pop. It's kind of unique and easy to grow. All my stuff, I like to do nothing. You know, it's like maintenance wise. So if you're like a finicky plant, or you're like kind of, you need a little extra, I don't have a lot of time for you unless you're super, 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 super special. You know what I mean? Like, you're really worth it. Like, I'll work with you, and then I'll steal all your genes out of you, and then I'll end up killing you anyway. You know what I mean? And I'll find something better that's stronger, that's like you. You know what I mean? But I don't like weak, needy plants. So all the plants that I like to put out, like, they have to be strong. They have to be able to like stand on their own. I don't like a lot of trellising. So they're very strong branched and very durable, you know, plants. Now in Oklahoma, we're going to find out some of those with windstorms and or tornadoes and crap, but that's yet to be determined. The orchard lady is my Pam. That's my Pam Anderson, my love. Crossed to a citrus farmer stud that I called Mr. Frosty. It took a bunch of plants to find him, like 30 or 40 plants to find Mr. Frosty out of a bunch of citrus farmer seeds that I had, you know, crossed and sorted through. Found a resin male, and I always want to look for resin males. I like resin producing males a lot. Even some people, there's controversy with resin males. Some people there's not. Some people don't. There are herm resin males, and there are not herm resin males in my experience, you know, of what I've seen and what I've not. So you don't use herm resin males. You find resin males that are just resinous and a real male, you know, that it takes some time to find them. Sometimes you get lucky. But he's a resin male, really pretty. There's pictures of him on the Instagram as well. Grapey, squat, tough, killer stacking on the flowers. And he hit a bunch of different things. But out of the group, it was the Pam that really liked him. Like, everything that came out of the orchard ladies, it was like, oh, wow, this is really, really good. Like, I consistently got people sending me pictures of, whoa, look at this orchard lady. And the story was, man, it outperformed a lot of these other plants here. What other stuff do you got? You know? So I was like, you know, this is a good one. So I started working with that one, and I actually just back crossed that one and did a back cross on the orchard lady, which was good. So we're gonna start working that one a little bit deeper and have it a little bit more, you know, firm. But everything that comes out is actually everything that Pam crosses with is pretty. A lot of it is Pam. She's very dominant in the process, which is cool. Like, not everything, and you'll get those weird ones that aren't Pam at all in any way, shape, or form. It's Sagan's choice. That's the case. It's like not a lot of them are like Pam. It's interesting, but the citrus farmer and anything else that I've crossed with Pam, it's like she shines through a lot. So it's like it got increased resin. It got like a sweeter, like fruitier flavor, a strong fruiter. It's like a great for making extracts and stuff. It's like a really like orangey, grapey, poppy, terpy, you know, sweet flavor. Got a lot more flavor on that end. And she grows just like, well, most of them grow just like Pam, strong and sturdy and stack and have those thinner leaves. She's definitely a thinner leaf cultivar, not a thick leaf cultivar, you know, like a indica or sativa. I have a hard time calling them like indicas and sativas and all that jazz, but a thin leaf cultivar, you know. So the orchard ladies are coming out. They're killer. It's a great plant, vigorous, tough, colorful like mommy, sweet and fruity, potent as hell. I had one of my orchard test site customers. We're growing orchard lady straight from seed. No clone, popped out. He popped 10 of them, and he got 3 that he fell in love with, and he tested his favorite one, and it was 24% THC, which is cool. And he's not, like I said, he's not an expert grower. He grew it outside the way that I told him to, with some, you know, as best as he could, you know, and he did a great job. And he was testing out and just super stoked. So that made the cut, and that one's going to get moved along, you know, there. So there were a bunch of those left. You got some of those. And then the Sagan's Choice was another resin male that was insane. But it was a volunteer in my orchard at my house. So over the season, at some point, seed dropped somewhere, either my stuff, bird stuff, I don't know. I was out there doing some planting of the vegetable crops in the winter season. It was in the middle of the winter time. And there was this little foot tall, like male plant, like full on, like golf ball, friggin' flower stacking, like golf. They look just like golf balls. They're like golf balls, flower stacking, pom-pom balls. And the thing was just drenched in resin like this. And when you touched it, it was way stickier than any of the other resin males I've ever seen. Like this one was like really like flypaper sticky and just like really nasty. Grew with no love, no hope in the middle of San Diego, like 30, 40-degree winter, which isn't cold, but it's cold where I'm at, you know, and it was like Mr. Survivor. I couldn't clone him. He'd already been flowering too long and he was dropping pollen. He was a weed, like sitting there, seriously. Like it was like the weirdest thing. So I dug him up, kept him alive for a day, and then chopped him down because he was so small. I chopped him down. They needed that much to test for his cannabinoid profile. I was going to test his cannabinoids. He smelled like pine. It was like piney, very piney and pungent, and and was supremely resinous. One of the best, colorful, very pink and purple, kind of like Pam. I went to test him. It was the only amount that they had, and then they called me like a week later and said that they kind of screwed up the test and they would like another sample to retest, and I didn't have another sample. I was the only sample that I ever had, but luckily I had, you know, stored pollen. I kept them alive, made them drop pollen, collected my pollen, stored pollen, and then I took that pollen and hit a bunch of my favorite things with it, including Dogwalker, including, you know, Pam, and that's the Sagan's Choice is the Pam. Pam got hit with the diamond. I call it the diamond mine stud because it just looked like a diamond mine. It was just frosty and beautiful and just great. So I crossed that bad boy with the Pam. There weren't that many seeds that came out of that one. It was just a single plant cross. It was just a small thing that I was going to sort through myself and kind of figure out what was going to go on. And then out of the group of us that tested them, they all were like, dude, there's some really cool stuff coming out of this. We should, you know, like, do you have any more of those seeds? You know, yada, yada. And then I tested a couple of them, or I'm throwing a couple that are really looking sharp. So I'm like, all right, out of the rest of the seeds, I'll keep what I need. And then I'm just going to get rid of those seeds and get those out because I don't have that male anymore. So it's going to change from now on because that male is not a part of the life as over time. So for people to get the male that I had and to have some fun with that one, anything that's kind of unusual, that's why I sent those ones out.
So how many of those are out there? That's kind of cool. People like to know that.
So there was only one pack that went out to Oklahoma of 10 seeds, and then there was one pack that went to one other place, and then you got, I don't know how many you got 5 or 10 or something like that. So and there's no more packs that I'm going to be able to give.
That's cool.
You know, there might be a couple of packs that I might, you know, out of the stuff that I have, depending on what comes out of there might be a pack or two that I can piece together in time, but there's nothing I can give away, you know, before I look through it at this point. So that's it.
That's cool.
But they're cool. They're interesting. Like I said, Pam she's kind of an anomaly and a weird thing. It's something that is not a cookie. It's something that is grown by, you know, somebody who's outside the weed realm and grows other stuff. It's in a kind of a different way and a different perspective, you know what I mean? And it's interesting stuff, you know, and it needs to get out to be saved because she's not going to be around forever. And there's nobody else that has the Pam. I've never given it to anybody, and I want to. and it's just I've never found the right opportunity or the right place where to go. So that's what I've been trying to do is figure that out. So I'm going through I got some of the F2s and some F3s that are just getting ready to be done here pretty soon. So I'm going to be able to go through those pretty soon. But we'll see what kind of PAM 2.0 I can pull out and start whittling with. But there's some cool stuff in there. There's some real cool stuff in there.
Well, it's exciting, man. I'm excited to open it up. I'm told you earlier I'm going to Colorado, which is it's more dry there. So I think that your stuff will be work
be a little
really
bit
well.
better off.
Than
Totally.
the stuff I'm doing up here in
Totally.
the wet. I was gonna say, dude, I could get the stuff I run in the summer would probably be great for your winter, dude, because 40-degree nights or 45-degree nights are
send
often.
me something.
That's my flower season. It's not a deal to get down to the 30s in my flower time. It's crazy.
Yeah. And it can be done, man. It's not, some of the most beautiful flowers that I've ever had have been in like the dead of winter, So it's just, the varieties I have they're way better for the dry, and
no, dude, I'd much rather grow in your climate. I mean, that's like what's up. I actually
man.
spent some time down there, and I enjoyed the winters there. It's so mild.
Yeah,
and, you get a little cold, but
yeah, it's nice. I got a weird little terroir right where I am. Like I'm in avocado country, and all the ag grows right here, and the mountains are right here. So when it rains in San Diego, which is rare, like if it rains for one day, where in San Diego, I'll get 2 or 3 days of the rain where I am. You know what I mean? So it's like just everything pushes over me, and I'll get more of all that winter and weather and stuff. That's why all the ag and the avocados and everything is grown out here, because we get more water and stuff. More stuff. But the terroir grows great cannabis, man. Not too like 10, 15 minutes from the ocean, but in this little mountainous country dry climate, you know what I mean? So you've got like the perfect humidity kind of all the time, and with and stuff, it's really, really, really cool. So easy.
Hell yeah, man.
But so I'm excited. If you grow up, there's a lot of stuff that we're testing right now. I got a lot of old schoolers and funky people testing some really, really cool stuff, like the Dogwalker process and some stuff that I can't get them tested fast enough, but I can't put out some stuff and be like, oh my God, this is, nobody likes it. I got to build a name on something. So, it's got to be good stuff. So I want to make sure everything's solid and good, and everything will,
I was going to go back to that. The Dogwalker, you got that. I think you told me you got that through the Grow Off.
Yeah, man.
And didn't you did well in that? Did you win?
Yeah, man, I did. I won. I got third place in terps, and I think I was like 6th or 7th. So basically, I killed it with the Dogwalker. It was really.
No,
awesome.
I know you. Yeah, you told me this story. Now it's coming back. You got to tell the story. Tell the.
Yeah. So basically, a water main basically broke under my floor underneath my kitchen. At the same time, behind the wall in my bathroom, water was leaking behind the wall. We had all this water damage. There's all these workers running in and out of the house trying to fix the house. And I have this Dogwalker plant in a tent that I'm just growing for a competition. I just try and just keep it by itself and just grow this thing the best of my ability. You know what I mean? And it's just stanking up the house like nobody's business, and I'm like a week away from harvest. And it basically, I was like, all right, I'm just going to take it. I'm going to take it. Somebody's going to steal the plants. I couldn't, there's, all kinds of damage and stuff. So I'm like, I'm just going to cut it down. I cut it down. Kept it in my truck, took it to the hotel where all of us were together. It was a friggin' nightmare. Every chance that my family was out of the house, I would pull out the Dogwalker in the Tupperware and open it up in the hotel room and try to dry it as best as I could inside the hotel room. I'd be hanging it up. and like it would stink up the whole hotel room all the way to the lobby. Everybody was wondering what the hell was going on. I was like, it was insane. And I still got third place in terpenes, you know, after all that was said and done, right? I still got the third place, which is insane because it was just driving my truck, driving the hotel, boxed up, closed up for hours and hours at a time, wet as hell. And then it still was. So if I would have been able to like do what I needed to do, like it would have probably been a you know, a much stronger finisher, even though it was up at the top. But yeah, so since I won and I got an award and, you know, I got some stuff with that, like I was like, all right, I'm gonna keep this plant. I like this plant. I needed that gas that I was looking for. You know what I mean? So that's it's a good plant.
Yeah, I fucking love it, man. I was describing it to someone today as like, in my mind, when I take a big rip off of it, I think of like Lucky Charms cereal, the marshmallow.
I got a technical thing. Hang on. JB. They just died on me. Hang on a second. Can talk, man.
So sorry
All right,
about that,
I'm born.
everybody. We had Tyler lost his battery on his headphones, so we had to pause the recording and swap them out. And I was just talking about smoke. I was talking about smoking Lucky Charms with a little bit of gas poured over it. That's how I think of the Dogwalker. You know, like I think about it. Man. Yeah, it's like that. The horseshoe marshmallow.
Yeah.
Pour a little like gasoline over that thing. Maybe a little bit of lime juice in there.
Man, I've never heard that. That sounds really good, dude. I like that a lot, actually. That's really good. I like it. Even the color, you know, if you get it right, you know, with that color, you know, like you
the color. You know, that's what I think in my head. Right.
Yeah. Love that, man. So you notice any light sensitivity with that thing when you're growing it? You know, light sensitive, you know, keep it on the outskirts and
I don't I've never run it indoor.
Oh no, yeah. So so it's fine outside. It takes the sun just fine. But inside, you know, I run it on the outside of the stuff. It's a little sensitive, you know, a little sensitive for
No, I've only run it in the greenhouse, and I have LEDs and HPS in there, but they're way up high. You know, it's in a greenhouse.
Gotcha.
And
no
it
problem.
grows big nugs, dude. Super resinous. You know, it's one of the plants on the plant that it looks super resinous, but by the time it dries all up, it doesn't quite have the bag appeal. You know, where like I'm grabbing it and like I'll show people in the jar, and they're like, oh yeah, and then I open the jar and they're like, wait, what?
Like,
you know what?
Yeah, I've had a weird couple like versions of it outside. You know, here, you know, in the perfect summer timing where it looks like lime green and just shiny and sparkly, and it sticks, and it's a funky plant, man. It's a funny plant. Like sometimes it's, you know, it's really greasy and dark and beautiful, and then different conditions, different light,
humidity,
different things, it changes. Yeah, the humidity big time changes substantially, you know. But it presses like a bad boy, you know. Like if you press in, like I can put 10 strains out there, and then I can press the Dogwalker, and out of that same, just pressing a whole flower on like a friggin' straight iron or a press or something like that, it always presses like double what everything else does. The grease amount that comes out of that thing is always double.
Nice. You know? I haven't pressed it. Have you got to play with any of the crosses yet? I mean,
I got a couple of them in bloom now. So that's right now. So when they're just developing a lot of terpene. I had one that was really smelly and veg, actually. It was more floral and veg, like on the Pam side, you know, veg style. But that stuff changes, you know, stuff can change overnight. But there are a few others that are just now developing their scent. And the Dogwalker itself doesn't develop a big scent until it gets pumping. So it's for me anyway. And a lot of them have, because Dogwalker's mom, you know, a lot of them have the Dogwalker leaf shape, you know, in there. There's a couple that have a little funkiness to them, but a lot of them have the Dogwalker leaf shape and the lower kind of stature, you know, to them. So, you know, I don't know 100% yet. We're getting there, but I'm super stoked because I want to find the Dogwalker's finicky plant, man. I'd love to find the Dogwalker 2.0 that checks all those boxes. It's got, you know, a little bit of that, you know, Pam in there, and then, you know, we can
turn it up.
turn it up a little bit, you know. So it's but yeah, so I'll know very soon. We're really close, and I got some other guys that are growing some stuff. I still got to go check it out and kind of see they're running some stuff inside under some LEDs. So we'll see. We'll see here soon. That's something I can't wait to get out there, because, you know, a Pam combination with one of them things should be pretty, you know, two opposites are really coming together in that regard, you know. So
Right.
yeah.
Exotic. That's right. You know.
Yeah, totally.
Exotics.
Totally.
Dude, thank you so much for spending so much time talking tonight and working through the technical difficulties.
No, I'm sorry. I had to screw something up.
That's
dude,
all
you know?
Good. What's your YouTube channel? Is it Mr. Trees? How do people find you on YouTube?
Yeah, if you want to see some fruit tree stuff, you can go check out the YouTube at Backyard Fruit. So you go to channels.
Backyard Fruit.
Yeah, go to channels on YouTube. You can check out Backyard Fruit on the YouTube channel. It's getting fired up. The kids at UCSD are finally starting to upload a bunch of videos for me, and we've worked out a little partnership and teaching and video, and, you know, good source of payment and stuff. So the videos are going to get really cool and really like edited up by kids that are good at that. I'm a farmer, so
cool.
You know, so it'll be nice. But yeah, Backyard Fruit channels, and then the Instagram for the seeds for cannabis stuff is at Family Tree Seeds, man.
Family Tree Seeds. Oh yeah, man.
Family Tree Seeds.
And what's your business if folks want to hit you up and get some help?
Backyard Fruit San Diego. Yep, Backyard Fruit San Diego, man. You can look me up. Backyard Fruit San Diego. You need some help with some trees. You got some sick problems. You want to put in some trees that, you know, change the food spectrum, get some health. You know, little tidbit. You're supposed to wash your non-organic apple you buy from the store for 20 minutes in baking soda and warm water and soap. You're supposed to scrub it and wash it like some ridiculous like 15 or 20 minutes amount of time, and then still like up to 20% of like the fungicides and garbage is still inside the apple. It's absorbed into the apple, so you're still eating like friggin' garble, like wax covered garble from hell, right? Like, so buy an organic apple and you have like less of a chance of that, depending on who's paying money for what. But it's just crazy how our food is poison. So if you got a space and you can grow, chances are you can grow something in your space at some point in the year, at some time. Like, that's, you know, I can help you figure out what to grow and how to do it and all that jazz. Is what I do. So, you know, need help, let me know.
Fuck yeah, man, dude. Well, I'm stoked to know you, man, and super stoked to be working with you on this, and can't wait to pop the Pams.
Yeah, man. Heck yeah. No, thanks for being radical, you know.
Why the name
Pam on the right side?
why the name Pam Anderson? I mean, I know
my wife named that. My wife named that. Okay. So she's the queen of the 90s. My seed collection it originally all came from like the late 90s, early 2000s during Pam Anderson's Baywatch rage, right? So she was the queen of the 90s, like the sexiest thing on planet Earth, you know, to most of us, you know. And in the garden, the Pam is the sexiest thing around. Like, she stands colorful and on her own, like trellis free and gunmetal blue with pinks, and she's
big
the
knockers.
shit, dude. She's running down the beach, man. Like, that's it. Like,
can you do that move again?
But yeah, that's why. And then my wife's like, she's like Pam Anderson, you know. She's like, you know, like, that's it, the Pam Anderson. So, and then I even sent her a message, and I'm like, yo, like, I'm naming this strain after you. Like, don't be pissed at me, and if you are, let me know, or I'll do something different. But obviously she never let me know, but at least I put it out there, you know. So we got my back covered. We'll call it Pam 1 if we have to. So that's what we're doing. But so
Well,
cool.
hell yeah, man, dude. Thank you again, and thanks to your family for letting you go for the evening. I know it can be hard to get away. So
no, you're the man. So thank you for your time, dude. Thanks for what you do, man. Keep doing it. So
hell yeah,
much
man.
love. You need something from me, you let me know. You know, I got you. So cool.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. And you can check out seeds at regenerativeseeds.com. We got all Tyler seeds up there, as well as Mandalorian, and we're adding folks, you know, as stuff comes in. I'm pretty excited about the project, and excited to we'll get together, you know, as a group of seed makers and breeders that are part of this. Probably this spring online, we'll do a big kind of online meeting and see where we go in these different preservation projects. So it'll be cool to, you know, get some of that Pam in there, you know, and
heck yeah, man.
it's because it's way out there,
It
and
needs to
you know,
be. Just some that nobody's played with, you know. So
so
it's time.
all right, thanks everybody, have a good night.